Welcome to this explainer. Today, we are investigating a massive digital failure that completely rocked India's centralized education system. We're going to unpack a story that honestly feels like a cyber thriller. I'm talking plain text passwords, instantly bypassed authentication, and teenage whistleblowers. But unfortunately for millions of students, this is completely real. Let's dive right in.
40. Over the last 5 years alone, there have been more than 40 examination paper leaks and digital controversies. This has absolutely devastated the lives of students across India. You have to understand, this isn't just a random string of bad luck. It is a systemic, infrastructural crisis in exactly how high-stakes data is being handled. Section 1. The on-screen marking disaster. Picture this. You've spent the entire year studying for literally the most important test of your life. Your college admissions, your whole career trajectory, it all hangs in the balance. But recently, during the CBSE's new on-screen marking rollout, which, by the way, was a digital evaluation system that was supposed to be foolproof, students discovered their futures might actually be ruined by a technical glitch in a portal they had zero control over.
Well, that exact nightmare became a reality for 12th grade student Vedant Shrivastava. After getting an inexplicably low score in physics, he applied to get a digital copy of his answer sheet. And he was completely shocked to realize that the document tied to his specific roll number belonged to someone else entirely. The handwriting wasn't even his. The system had literally just misdirected the data.
Moving on to Section 2, manual versus digital evaluation.
So, how does a massive mix-up like that even happen? We gotta look at the data comparing traditional, manual grading to this new digital reality. Manual evaluation actually allowed for teacher discretion, right? It gave evaluators the time to decipher really complex handwritten derivations in subjects like math and physics. But the new digital system completely stripped that away. Evaluators reported being forced into this robotic scrolling through blurry scanned pages, which created a massive cognitive disconnect. Instead of assessing a student's actual thought process, they were just racing against a digital clock given roughly 7 minutes per paper.
Section 3. A 5-year leak epidemic. Look, this OSM failure is not just an isolated bug. It's part of a cascading failure of centralized exams over half a decade. When you analyze the trends, you see this alarming escalation in scale. We started with the deeply tragic 2019 Telangana crisis, where nearly 40% of candidates, we're talking 3.8 lakh students, failed because of incredibly bungled evaluation software. Now, jump to 2024, and we're looking at massive spikes in affected students, culminating in the huge NEET paper leaks and the CBSE digital debacle. The data clearly shows these failures are only growing. Section 4. 3 teenagers expose the system.
Okay. Here is where the story turns into an absolute investigative thriller. Because the people who actually audited this national infrastructure, they weren't highly paid cybersecurity consultants. They were literally teenagers. Tracing the timeline, Vedant's viral discovery on day 1 sparked a huge chain reaction. By week 2, it inspired 19-year-old ethical hacker Nisarga to probe the grading portal himself. And then by week 3, 17-year-old blogger Sarthak had dug deep into public procurement records to expose highly suspicious alterations in the government tender process.
Let's dig into the actual cybersecurity footprint here. Nisarga found that the platform's defenses were practically non-existent. I mean, he bypassed the OTP authentication instantly. He found master passwords just sitting there, stored in plain text within the source code. He even discovered he could actively impersonate official examiners, leaving millions of students' data completely exposed. And the most damning detail in all of this? His official warnings to the National Cybersecurity Agency, CERT-IN, were reportedly ignored for months while active grading was still taking place. Crazy, right? And adding fuel to the fire, Sarthak's deep dive into the tender documents revealed a massive red flag. The paper trails showed that rules were seemingly altered to favor a company called Coed Tech. And guess what? Coed Tech is actually just the rebranded version of Globarina, the exact same company linked to that catastrophic 2019 Telangana exam tragedy we mentioned earlier. A crucial clause that was meant to disqualify bidders with a history of poor performance had just mysteriously vanished from the requirements.
Section 5. The problem with centralization.
So what does this all mean for us? Well, all these independent discoveries basically point a neon sign at a huge structural issue in how education is governed. A centralized union-level system creates a massive single point of failure. If one server is compromised in Delhi, millions of students nationwide are paralyzed. A decentralized approach, like returning education back to the state list, would actually isolate those failures geographically.
Plus, a one-size-fits-all algorithm just cannot account for the drastic socioeconomic differences between, say, a student in rural Uttar Pradesh and one in Chennai.
Moving education back towards state control isn't just about mitigating tech glitches, though. It's really about local accountability. The core argument is that the future quality and diversity of the nation's entire workforce should not be bottlenecked by a single, unchecked, centralized system. If we want sustainable development, we need infrastructure that is robust, tailored, and locally transparent.
Finally, Section 6. Who protects the future? When you look back at this whole digital fiasco, what really stands out isn't just the failure of the code, it's the failure of the institutions. It is deeply, deeply concerning that 17 and 19-year-olds had to act as whistleblowers because the system completely failed to audit itself. We really have to ask ourselves, can we truly trust the future of tomorrow's engineers, scientists, and teachers to a centralized machine that actively resists accountability? Transparency definitely doesn't happen by accident. It happens because people demand it. If you want to keep digging into these crucial systemic issues and you want to support independent, tech-savvy journalism that actually audits the system, make sure to hit subscribe right now. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and I'll see you in the next one.